Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Minnesota Association for College Admission Counseling Virtual College Fair. We're so excited to have you all here for this wonderful panel. We have some great panelists here to share some info with you, but before we pass things over to them, my name's Isabella. I'll be your facilitator for the session, and I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So your camera and microphone are off, and they will remain off throughout the full session. You're muted. The panelists can't see or hear you. Your best way to ask your questions is to send them through that Q&A throughout the session. So you should see that on your screen now. That is your best way to interact with our panelists today. I encourage you to sign up for more sessions if you haven't already. There are additional panels this evening, tomorrow, and then a virtual college fair tomorrow evening and the following day. This session is also being recorded, and so if you need to return back to any of this information, you'll be able to find that recording online in the coming days at strivescan.com/Minnesota. And so with that, I'll go ahead and pass us over to our panelists.
Okay, guys, we're going to get started here in just a moment. We're working on the technology to share our PowerPoint presentation. And like I said, we'll get started here in just a moment. But, oh, there we go. So thank you so much for joining in on the presentation of I'm the first in my family to go to college. Where do I start? So once again, thank you so much for attending our session today. My name is Tiffany Betcher. I actually work with Rochester Community and Technical College, and I am the admissions representative and outreach coordinator for our institution. And if you, once we get to our next slide here, you'll be able to see all of my contact information. The nice thing is that we do have a contact slide with all of our presenters information here at the end. So if you are interested in any of our specific institutions, or if you just have some general questions that you would like to ask one of us, just get ready to either screenshot or take a picture of that last screen once we do get to that particular portion. So once again, thank you so much for attending our session. So one of the things that you're going to be hearing from us at numerous times today is the terminology of first generation college student. And that is going to be you. A first generation college student is simply a person whose either parent has not received a 4-year degree. So it doesn't matter if your parent or parents have a 2-year degree, if they have military experience, as long as they don't have a 4-year college education, you are a first generation college student. Going on to our next slide, you're going to see that you are not alone, and you are not going to be the only first generation college student at your college of choice. Specifically with RCTC, we're actually closer to about 50% of our students being first generation. But if we look at all of the colleges within the state of, or sorry, the entire country, so all of the United States, according to the US Department of Education, 33% of higher education students today are the first in their college or the first in their family to attend college. So once again, you are not alone in this. As you start this process of college, it's a process of learning and searching and deciding, making those decisions. You're going to feel probably overwhelmed. You are probably even going to feel a little scared at times. First and foremost, we as a panel want to state that that is okay. It is normal to have those feelings as you're going through this process. And just know that even those students who have family and maybe even other close friends that have gone through the college process, they're going to be feeling these same things. They're going to get overwhelmed at times. They're going to be scared at times. So just remember, you are not alone. That's one of the big things we want to make sure that you know about that today. We are going to be covering a number of different items throughout the presentation to hopefully make things feel a little bit less overwhelming for you. And another thing that we want to let you know is that if you have questions, we're here for you. We want to answer those questions. So just make sure that you submit those in the Q&A box at the bottom there, and we will go ahead and get those answered for you. And no question is a dumb question. So we want to make sure that you get the answers that you are looking for through our session today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to one of my colleagues, and they're going to go ahead and start providing some additional information for you.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jamilka Leone, and I am representing North Hennepin Community College. I am an admissions representative here. So thank you to Tiffany for giving us a beautiful overview of kind of what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be talking about and presenting. This topic is obviously very close to all of us, very near and dear, because we have gone through it, we've experienced it firsthand. And we made it through to the other side, and now we're here presenting to you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, which is something that I'm sure you can relate to. You don't have to put a label on yourself or anything like that, but I'm sure that you can relate to a lot of the symptoms and experiences that come with each subcategory of imposter syndrome. It's definitely something that I've experienced as a first-generation Latinx student as well. So imposter syndrome is basically experiencing feelings of like you don't belong, like you are not smart enough, like you are not, don't have enough money, like you don't know what you're doing, when you've done everything on the contrary to prove that you belong in your school, that you belong in your program, doing what you're doing, just like every single other person who has done what they needed to do to get into that program. But despite the facts, and the fact is that you are in a classroom surrounded by peers who have done the same things to get into the same classroom that you're sitting in right now, you still feel like you're an imposter. You still feel like you don't belong. Like at some point, someone's going to rip the mask off your face and expose the fact that maybe you don't know the financial aid part, or maybe you don't have the home support, or maybe you don't know what the professor's talking about, or whatever it may be. Okay, so you basically feel like you don't belong when you've done everything to get there, just like everybody else in that room. So Dr. Young is actually a psychologist who studied imposter syndrome, and she has done it well. She's done it well over the years and has subcategorized it into 5 different subtypes. Now, these are very kind of straightforward, and I'm sure you can relate to at least one or a combination of them. So I want you to just listen and think about like, oh, wow, this kind of does sound like me, and kind of pick and choose which characteristics and which subtype kind of more aligns to you and the way that you work. So the first one is the perfectionist. Now, this is the person that is focused on how the work is done and the outcome. So you're focused on how great of a student you can be, how what grade of a paper you can write for English and do you get an A. Okay, the problem with that is that 99 out of 100 is still not good enough for you. You get 99 out of 100 on a test, and that's still not good enough because it's not perfect. Okay, so what happens with this is it brings up a lot of feelings of inferiority when you are not performing at your optimal level. And for you as a perfectionist, your optimal level is perfect. It's not 89, it's not 95, it's perfect, it's 100%. So that's where kind of the problems come, because perfectionists have very, a lot of characteristics that will make you successful and will really help you in college and will really help you through life in general. But when you're seeing that as your value and you have to be perfect in order to prove to yourself and to everybody around you that you are not an imposter, that's where the problem starts. Okay. Number 2 is the super person. This person focuses on how many roles you play. This is the person, and I know a lot of you can relate, maybe even in high school, where you're everywhere. You are the captain of the basketball team. You are on the debate club. You are doing all of these things across campus, and you're being a perfect student and all of those things. So you focuses on how many roles you play on campus and how involved you are and basically showing your face everywhere you can, right? And this is also great, like get involved, be excited about it. But the problem with this comes that if you fail in one area, and by fail, like please use that gently with yourself, but if you fall short in a role that you play, you fail in all the other areas in your mind. You have proved that you are not good enough. You have proved your imposter syndrome to everyone else. Okay, then comes the natural genius. This is the person who focuses on how easy things come to you. And as a first generation college student, you kind of want to prove not only to yourself, but to other people that you know what you're doing. You are smart enough to be there. So you're constantly battling to prove that. And when you don't get something, when you don't understand something the first time, it kind of reinforces that belief that you have that you are not good enough, that you are not smart enough, that you don't belong there. Okay, so the problem with this is that you're not blank enough, you're not smart enough, you're not rich enough, you're not whatever enough when something takes effort. And how this shows up in students and in life in general is if you are not naturally great at something, if you are not smart at like biology, for example, or chemistry is not for you and you're not going to take it again. Maybe you switch majors because you're not good at science, and if you're not good at it naturally, you're not going to work to put that to get to the level that you need to be. You're just going to say it's not for you and move on because you're rewarded by things that come easily, by things that you're naturally good at. The soloist is number 4, and this one focuses on who completes the work, and that's you. For the most part, you are the one starting the project. You are the one doing it all by yourself. You are the one carrying the load of like group projects on your back, right? You want to get everything done by yourself to prove that you can do it by yourself and you don't need help. So you struggle with really reaching out for help. You struggle with group projects. You struggle with reaching out for outside sources and using the resources available to you in your schools. So the problem again is asking for help in your mind is a sign of failure or weakness, that you need outside resources and you can't do it by yourself. And finally, the expert is focusing on how much you know. So the problem here is that when you don't know something, that proves that you're an imposter, that proves that you don't belong in that classroom. So you do all of the research. You need to know everything about the project that you're doing, okay? You do all the research, you use all of your resources, you make sure you cover all of your bases. So what usually happens is that you end up, over-researching everything, over-analyzing everything, trying to prove that you are the expert on that topic. So imposter syndrome again shows up in first generation students in the form of perfectionism, taking on all the work in group projects and kind of showing your professors that you belong there, and indecision. So you're constantly switching majors or you're constantly making different plans, and over preparation, again, over researching, over analyzing, and burnout because you work yourself to the core trying to prove that you belong here and that you are enough to be in this institution. And in low confidence when other areas of your life fall short, when you don't get that A, when you don't do well on a project or whatnot, it takes an impact on your confidence. So what can you do to overcome imposter syndrome? And again, you can have symptoms of all of these different categories, but again, I want you to remember that it's in your power, it's in your hands to be able to not be a victim of your circumstances as a first generation college student, which first of all is nothing to be a victim of. It's nothing to be ashamed of because you have the power and the confidence and the resources to get you where you need to be. Okay, so in order to overcome the symptoms that might be kind of holding you back or putting a damper on your experience as a college student, I want you to recognize and celebrate your achievements. Again, you did everything that your classmates are doing, the same exact thing, if not more, to gain your spot in that classroom. And you need to recognize that you are smart, you are capable, you are confident, you deserve to be there. Okay. Give yourself grace when things, you don't get that A, when things don't go well, whatnot. You have to give yourself grace and give yourself room for expansion and growth and learning. Accept yourself as a learner and continue to identify, apply, and grow all of the things that maybe didn't go well the first time. Okay, how can I grow and use this experience to move forward. Practice delegating and sharing work. Remember that you don't have to do it all on your own. And I know as a first generation Latina student in my home, I took on a lot, like the parenting roles. I took on a lot of adult type things growing up. So I kind of brought that experience into college with me. So just remember that it's okay to delegate, work smarter, not harder, and be more efficient in that way. And then practice focusing on what you need to know now, not what you might need to know someday. You don't need to know everything. You're learning, you're growing as a person, as an adult, as a student. So don't feel the need to put everything on your back and know everything at once, okay? And I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Laura Berg.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. I work at Pine Technical and Community College. I am one of our recruitment and admission specialists there on campus or here on campus. I work with a lot of our technical programs, but I'm really here to talk to you today about a struggle that a lot of our first generation college students have, which is knowing where to begin that college search. Where do you start, and kind of the steps for that. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So really, you guys have a great resource right at your hands every day when you walk into school, and that is your guidance counselor office. You know, it's kind of a first stop for you guys to go, especially if you're unsure of the route you want to take. Take some time, visit with your guidance counselor, visit the office, career center, take advantage of those resources that you have. Another benefit of that is many times college reps, along with military recruiters, will come and visit, and you can schedule a time to talk to them. I know locally at our local high school, they have a guidance counselor calendar that actually labels out when they are going to be visiting you. So you can take time to meet with them before deciding to go to visit. Especially for those colleges that are a little further away, you have an opportunity to meet with them before you travel. So it's really a great starting point. But then after that, it's really starting to think about what you're interested in. What career do you want to go into? What program do you want to study when you go to college? So you really, I always say, as a mom of a college student, that you kind of want to think about the program you want to go to and then build your search on that. Search some college websites, do some research, what colleges offer the program and the field of study that you want to go into. And then kind of think about other things. How far away from home do you want to be? Sometimes that's you want to get out of the state, you want to go a little further. Sometimes you want to stay a little closer to home. Once you do that, I really think it's important to pick a few schools to go and visit, really get a chance to visit and find out what atmosphere and what campus suits you the best. I like to say about 2 to 3 is an ideal amount of colleges to visit. My daughter, actually, a little personal story quickly, is she had her heart set on one college for years, from 9th grade until her senior year. When we started those college visits, she actually changed her mind and she picked another college because that college atmosphere fit her better. She liked the campus and the things that they had to offer in the surrounding areas. So you never know what campus is really going to fit your needs. So I encourage you to take opportunities to go and visit those campuses. A lot of your high schools are going to give you excused absences that you can use to visit colleges. So take advantage of that. Take a couple days with your family or family members and friends and go visit those campuses. We actually found being there over the weekend was very beneficial because we got to visit places outside of the campus to make sure it was a good fit. Then you can also check into different open houses that those campuses may offer, where you get a chance and an opportunity to meet with other freshmen, get more of a student life perspective, which is really important as you're going to be a student there for the next 2 to 4 years or longer. And they're also just fun events to really have that opportunity to take part in. Then your next step is really looking at starting the application process. You narrow down your search and you start applying. Know the deadlines for your campus, because that's kind of up to you to know if they have deadlines for applying for specific semesters that you're looking at starting. Also check to see if you need supporting documentation like additional essays, reference letters from your high school teachers or guidance counselors, and have those completed by those deadlines as well so you don't miss out. Apply early. If you are applying to a college that has dorm rooms, that's specifically important. As I found out with my daughter, the earlier that she applied, she actually got priority pick on her dorm room. Not all campuses are alike and not all dorms are alike. So if you want the best pick of a dorm room, they suggest applying early and completing that application for those dorm rooms early as well. And it also just gives you more opportunities all around the sooner that you apply. And once again, just apply to more than one school. You might have a preferred school that you want to go to, but that doesn't guarantee that you will get into that campus. So make sure you have some backup plans in place. And then just be mindful that we are in October now, and October is College Knowledge Month. So many campuses offer free application periods during the month of October. So you can save yourself some money on those application fees and you can start on them early. Another thing, if we want to go to the next slide, is I think it's really important for students to create a college checklist. It's just some important things to help you prepare for that college search process. So first is start having those conversations with family and friends about college, your expectations, really what you want to get out of college. This should not be a stressful thing. It should be fun and exciting. Keep the conversation casual and open-ended. So more questions that aren't yes or no, but to enable a real conversation. And this is also a good thing to do with your guidance office as well. Really start that conversation. Get excited about college. It's something to be excited about. Then start talking to your high school counselors. They are there to help you and at your fingertips as they're right at your college or at your high school. And you spend a lot of your time there right now. They can help you direct to colleges that might not have been on your radar normally, and talk about the different scholarship opportunities that each of those campuses offer as well. Those counselors really play a key role in the college application process. So you really want to start establishing those relationships now. Third, start looking into some career interest. Understand your interests, your strengths, do some self-awareness and exploration, and just really get that cultivating right now. A lot of times your high school may also offer some career assessment tests. So maybe you can start taking those and things may pop up and just get those juices flowing. Next is one that you are doing right now, and that's attending college fairs, getting to know colleges, meeting with them. But don't stop here. Keep exploring your options for different college fair opportunities that you have, whether they're virtual or in person. Then you want to start making a list of colleges you would like to visit. Like I said, we suggest a minimum of 3, and just really start booking those appointments to go visit those campuses. Then you can also explore campuses online in your free time. A lot of them offer virtual campus tours that you can explore, and you can attend those prior to even deciding if you want to travel to that campus. The next one is start your list of likes and dislikes, as well as a list of your needs from college. You'll probably be spending the next 2 to 4 years at that campus. So make sure that that campus will meet the needs that you want. Lastly, start educating yourself on the campus's college admissions process and application deadlines. There are benefits to applying early, so make sure you give yourself plenty of time for that. So that's all I had for you today, and I hope I was able to provide you with some additional knowledge and tools to help you understand the process of starting your college search. I know it can be scary for many, coming from a first-generation college student myself, but it is one of the most rewarding experiences you can provide yourself. So I am going to hand it off to our next presenter now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Corey Young. I'm the Director of Admissions at Hennepin Technical College. And I'm going to be able to talk to you about the fun stuff, paying for college. As a first generation college student, you always think about, can I afford to go to college? How does this work? All those things. And I'm here to tell you, don't put too much stress on yourself about those things. The first decision that you made, the hardest decision, was figuring out if you want to go to college and what college you want to go to. After that, trying to figure out how you're going to pay for it can be a lot simpler. It can be a lot more simple than you think. The one thing that I want to talk about too is first filling out your FAFSA and figuring out what financial aid is. And a lot of this is going to be things that you hear all the time: financial aid, free money, grants, loans. How do I go about all of these things? And the good thing to know is that every single college that you plan to attend to will have some sort of financial aid group or advisor or somebody that can walk you through these processes and make it a lot easier for you. The other thing that we hear is you want to avoid loans. You want to make sure you don't take out, because we all know about the student loan debt crisis. I know some of us on this panel are probably still paying off some debts, but that's okay. The one thing I want to tell you about is don't be afraid of loans. Don't be afraid of grants. Those are opportunities for you to still go to college, right? So what is a grant? A grant is a source of free money that will typically not need to be repaid. So you won't need to pay that back generally, excuse me. So when we talk about getting grants, making sure that we're applying for those, or you can get those based on need or merit, depending on your institution. There's a lot of ways that you can receive those. The other one that everyone's afraid of, I think, when we talk about financial aid or we talk about money, is loans, excuse me. And that's money that you have to pay back. Now, the big thing about loans, for some of us, it does help us get through that entire school process and pay for things, right? The biggest thing is knowing that you have to pay it back. So it's not taking too much more than you need. Obviously, there are going to be certain circumstances that students go through, especially as a first generation college student. It's going to be a lot of money that people offer you and say, hey, you can take a loan out for $10,000. For you is to sit with your financial aid advisor and see what you need for your classes, what can cover it, and then figure out, okay, how do I need to pull out a little bit more, or what does this cover? And you remember you're paying all this stuff back. So it's having those conversations with the financial aid advisor about your needs, your classes, your covers, and then figuring out what you do as the next step. So don't be afraid of loans. Some people get really upset and scared when they talk about paying for college because they figure all they're going to do is take out $80,000 worth of money and have to pay it back. But a lot of these institutions are very affordable. And even with affordability, we understand that everybody doesn't have $5,000 that can come out of their pocket right now. So that means if you do have to take a loan, it's okay. Just understand the process of what goes about getting a loan and repaying it and how you want to go about it. So again, it varies on need if you want to decide on if you want to borrow. The other thing that I always talk to people about when it comes to financial aid or scholarships, grants, loans, or anything, look for scholarships. Like, it's crazy the amount of scholarships that are available for students, and we just don't even know. I always make the joke about me being from Detroit and how I missed out on opportunities and scholarships just because I'm from Detroit. Sometimes you can look at institutions and they may have merit, which means your grade point average or things that you did in high school can be an opportunity for you to get a scholarship, or it could be need-based. So let's say your family makes a certain income, or your household makes a certain income, they can provide a scholarship that way. The other one that I never knew was the endowment. And certain institutions may have that on their websites. So you can literally go on their website, search the scholarship page for the college that you want to go to. And they may say, hey, if you're a student that, I don't know, went to school in Minneapolis public schools for your entire high school, we have an opportunity to give you $4,000 or something like that. Those things are sometimes available and hidden on some of our sites. And you can go through and just search and find those type of things. The other ones are competitive scholarships, right? So those are the ones that we think that we may not be able to get it just because we're asking someone to write a essay or something. And I know a lot of people don't like writing essays for scholarships, but that's the mindset that a lot of students have. So if you're the one person that writes that essay and everybody else is like, you know what, I don't think I want to write it, you're going to be the person to get that essay and that scholarship. And it's literally that simple. So writing an essay for college or filling out a form, it only takes 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, 20 minutes to write something at max. And that can be the opportunity for you to get anywhere from $1,000 or $500 to up to $20,000, depending on the school that you want to go to. So paying for college doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. It can be very simple. It can also be something that you get help with. If mom or dad are confused about the situations, I know many of our institutions will welcome mom, dad, auntie, uncle, grandmother, anybody to come in with you during those financial aid meetings and have the conversations to kind of walk through the process of doing it. But it's nothing that you have to be afraid of. The other thing that I want to talk about, just in general, this is the last thing, when we're deciding on what schools we're choosing, right? And we're trying to figure out, okay, is this one affordable? Does this one feel this way? I always tell students, make your decision based on the feel that you have from the college and don't necessarily think about the money when you're having those first decisions. Because there's always ways to pay for college. And I'm speaking from someone who was nervous myself when I was looking at the opportunities and deciding on schools. So pick the school that feels best for you, not necessarily because it's just the most affordable or it's the most expensive. That's going to be the best way to determine your school. And I'm handing over to the next presenter.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Ia Yang. I am an admission counselor at St. Cloud State University. Here's just a little bit about my contact and how you can request an online visit session with me or how to visit us on our campus. And we can go on the next slide, please. So we're now going to be talking about boundaries and transition. So this is going to be a time where you're now decided to go, and there's going to be times where you need to set some boundaries. Now, when I say boundaries, it's not going to be a bad thing. It's not going to be a good thing. It's just going to be more of knowing where you're going to set yourself as. When we say about family and friends, it's going to be now you're becoming an adult. You're going to be choosing things that you're going to have to decide on your own. And it can definitely be a scary time when setting those up. And so those are great when you have families and friends to still go to them. But at the same time, it's now going to be your choice. What are things that you want to do? Is it a good time that, yes, you have a test coming up this Friday and you decide to say, hey, you know what, I have time, I'm going to go visit my family or I'm going to hang out with my friends? Can you setting that boundaries towards yourself and as well as school? Responsibilities that you're going to be responsible for yourself. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to be the one deciding your classes when you take those classes, whether it's morning, night classes, and between classes that if you don't want to take any Fridays, and taking the time to balance and studying and doing your homework. No one's not going to remind you to do your homework. No one's not going to wake you up to go and to go for your classes. It's going to be your own self setting those up, whether you have to create your own schedule or having to set an alarm up. The great thing about it is that colleges and universities have tons of support services. They have tutoring centers that you can go to, their math centers as well. I would always recommend to definitely check out any support services offices at the university or colleges as well. They may have student accessibility, multicultural student services. It's a great way for you to utilize these type of services because they're there to serve you. We know it's a transition. It's like I mentioned, it can be a very scary time, nerve-wracking even as well, but you have all these support services there for you. You can even join group programs such as TRIO and College Possible, where they have coaches and advisors, extra resources for you, including peers and faculty. I always think it's important to engage with other students in your classroom and as well as your professors. They're really there to be help guide you as well, kind of figure out what kind of things you may need as you move and you come and take on these next 4 years, as you can see. So we know that it can be a transition, and we hope that it is something that you are thinking about, but you are not alone. So it's all about trying to figure it out. You might feel lost in the beginning, but know that there's going to be all sorts of resources and support that you're going to be able to access while you are attending college. And so with that, that just talks a little bit about boundaries and transition that, you may have happen. And that does end on my part. I will go ahead and let next to your. Oh.
Okay, my name is Lee Parker. I'm with the College of St. Scholastica. I'll make sure to get my contact information for you later. I just want to thank you for being here again and to remind you what we started off with. You heard it over and over. You are not alone, nor should you be, not at any point during the search process or while you're attending school. Whether you go to 2-year, 4-year school, private or public, you need to know that there's a bunch of people waiting to help you, waiting to make sure that you get on a path to success walking through the door. And that could be in a TRIO program. It could be like if you were in Upward Bound, you can continue with TRIO while you're in college, and you can search those people out once you get to the campus. But know that our job is to help you get through graduation, get through all courses and be successful. It's for good reason. We want you to go out and be a successful alumni so we can tell other students about how you were able to come through our doors and were forever changed. We talked a little bit about paying for college, but one thing we really try to emphasize to students is that this is the second biggest financial investment that most people make in their lives. Usually the first biggest investment is the house or their business. And usually that's not for years down the road in your 30s and your 40s. And you usually hire a professional like a realtor to help you get through that process. Everyone needs help, especially when it comes to financing. And this is a financial investment by all means. So don't let yourself get in the way of helping yourself. Feel free to come and talk to folks on campus and get involved with internships and practicums. Get involved with your professor's research team, because Corey was mentioning you can get scholarships for just about anything. And when we as professionals want to recommend for somebody for a scholarship on our campus, we talk to the students. We recommend the students that we're most close with, those who work in our office, those who help us with research, those who are part of clubs and organizations that we are academic advisors for, or faculty advisors for. So I encourage you to make yourself known on whatever campus you choose, and to don't be afraid. No such thing as a dumb question, and you don't know what you don't know. But it's a process of networking. We're happy to help, and networking. That's a big part of college, and I know my colleagues can agree. While in college, you were able to tap into networks and friends that last a lifetime. So I encourage you to let down your guard and come and get some help.
So this is just our contact information. If you want to reach us, and you can also reach us in our respective departments on our websites. But I think, do we have any questions? We can open it up to some Q&A or FAQs for you. Any questions that we can answer for you? Or how can we, any more information we can provide? Because I know we talked a lot and I had a lot of information and it went kind of fast. So. This is the part where you use your resources and ask the questions. Also, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A box down here if you're want to do that instead of like speaking up. Got a question. If someone does PSEO, does that mean that they'll get their associate's or bachelor's degree earlier? I'll say my take and then anyone else can jump in, but I would say it depends on the classes that you take and the major. A lot of PSEO is like general classes. So in the majority of cases, what I've seen is that yes, they do get their associate's degree faster. So therefore they get their bachelor's degree faster because you complete credits while you're in high school. But again, it depends on you or your student and the kind of like the journey, right? So how many classes, how many times you change your major, all that stuff. But generally speaking, yes. And I don't know if anyone else has anything to add up to that.
I would just encourage students and families to visit the Transferology website that gives you a good general information about how your credits, whether they're taking PSEO or in general, transfer from institution to institution. And is it transferology.org?
Yep, and kind of to go along those same lines, that as I kind of mentioned, that a lot of it will come down to what is that your associate's or bachelor's degree going to be in. So with PSEO, as mentioned, most students are doing general education requirements, where if you decide you want a degree in carpentry, let's say, a very hands-on program without a lot of general education requirements, it's probably not going to speed up that time frame at all, as those types of courses that aren't readily available for PSEO students, as they have to meet those high school graduation requirements first. Now, if you're going for a liberal arts and sciences degree at the associate's level, then yes, definitely going to speed up that process. So a lot of it does come down to what is the actual degree.
That was a really good question that I wish I would have done PSEO in high school, but I didn't do it. And I think we're almost out of time, but I did want to add that if you haven't done PSEO and you want to like save money or finish earlier, another option is a CLEP exam. I did a CLEP exam for Spanish, so I didn't have to take like the world language requirement when I was in a 2-year institution. So that's definitely something you can do. CLEP exams, I think, for most subjects, but you basically test out of it and then get the credit that you would be taking in a class. So very random fact, but just throwing that out there that is an option for you as well.
All right, and I think that is about the time that we have for our session here today. So I do want to take a moment and give a huge thank you to our presenters for sharing more about the first gen experience and college search, but also a big thank you to all of you for joining, and hopefully you learned a little bit more throughout today's panel. I do want to mention there'll be a very quick 5-question survey that will appear on your screen when this session wraps up. If you don't mind taking a moment to fill that out for us, it's helpful to get some feedback as we continue to plan events such as these. A reminder that there are additional sessions this evening, tomorrow, and the following day for you to check out. And you can sign up for those additional sessions, and you'll be able to view the recording for this session in the coming days at strivescan.com/Minnesota. So once again, thank you so much to our presenters. Thank you so much for all of you for joining us today. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful remainder of their day.
Thank you.